The first 24 hours decide everything. Not day 3. Not week 2. The first day. That's when systems begin to fail, but haven't fully collapsed yet. That's when resources still exist, but are disappearing fast. That's when most people make the decisions that determine whether they stay ahead or fall behind. And here's the problem. Almost nobody is prepared for that window. People think survival is about endurance, lasting days, weeks, months. It's not. It's about positioning early. Because if you get the first 24 hours wrong, you spend the next 72 trying to recover. And most don't. I've seen real-world disruptions, storms, blackouts, infrastructure failures, where the outcome wasn't decided by who had the most supplies. It was decided by who made the fewest mistakes early. 7 mistakes. All of them common. All of them avoidable. And every one of them happens before people even realize they're in a real situation. That's what makes them dangerous. Because they don't feel like mistakes at the time. They feel normal. Waiting for updates. Checking your phone. Assuming things will stabilize. That's how it starts. Now here's what you need to understand. In the first 24 hours, you still have leverage. Water may still be running. Fuel may still be available. Stores may still have inventory. But that window closes fast. And once it does, you're not choosing anymore. You're reacting. That's the shift you don't want. Because reaction means limited options, increased competition, high risk. Action means control. Now look at the pattern most people follow. They delay. They wait for confirmation before acting. They assume the situation is temporary. They hesitate because they don't want to overreact. By the time they decide to move, the environment has already changed. Shelves are empty. Lines are long. Access is restricted. And now every step is harder. That's not bad luck. That's timing. The people who move early don't have more information. They just act faster on the signals that are already there. Because they understand something most people don't. You don't prepare after things become obvious. You prepare while they're still uncertain. That's where the advantage is. And the first 24 hours is where you either secure that advantage or lose it completely. Mistake 1. Waiting for confirmation instead of acting early. This is where most people lose. Not because they don't see something is wrong, but because they wait to be sure. They look for official updates. They refresh their phones. They watch for announcements. They want confirmation before they act. That hesitation feels logical. It's not. Because by the time something is officially confirmed, everyone else knows too. And that's when the shift happens. Stores get crowded. Fuel lines form. Shelves empty fast. The window closes. Now you're not securing resources. You're competing for what's left. And competition creates pressure. Pressure leads to rushed decisions. Rushed decisions lead to mistakes. Now here's the reality most people don't accept. Early action always feels like overreaction. That's why they avoid it. They don't want to look wrong. They don't want to waste time or effort if nothing happens. So they wait. But the cost of waiting is higher than the cost of being early. Because if you act early and nothing happens, you lose nothing. You still have your supplies. You still have your time. But if you wait and something does happen, you lose access. And once access is gone, you don't get it back easily. Look at real scenarios. Before major storms or outages, there's always a short period where everything still works. Water is running. Fuel is available. Stores are stocked. That's your moment. The people who move during that window fill containers, top of fuel, secure essentials. They stay ahead. The ones who wait for confirmation arrive too late. Now here's the key shift. You don't wait for certainty. You act on indicators. Small signals. Unusual demand. Service instability. Early warnings. You move before it becomes obvious. Because once it's obvious, it's already crowded. And crowded environments are where problems multiply. Limited supply. Increased stress. Reduced options. That's not where you want to be. You want to be finished before that stage begins. Because in the first 24 hours, speed matters more than accuracy. And the people who move first control the outcome. Mistake 2. wasting the first hours on the wrong priorities. When something goes wrong, most people don't freeze. They move. But they move in the wrong direction. They focus on what feels urgent, not what actually matters. They check social media. They watch live updates. They start organizing random items. It feels productive. It's not. Because while they're doing that, the clock is running. And the first few hours are the most valuable window you have. That's when water is still available. Fuel is still accessible. Supplies are still within reach. If you waste that time, you lose access to all three. Now look at what should actually happen. You prioritize function, not information, not comfort. Function. Water first. Because without it, everything else becomes harder. You secure as much as you can while pressure still exists. Then power. Charge devices. Prepare light sources. Then food and fuel. Simple sequence. Clear priorities. But most people reverse it. They spend time gathering information, while resources disappear. Now here's why that happens. Information feels like control. It gives the illusion that you're staying ahead. But in fast-moving situations, information lags behind reality. By the time something is reported, it's already happening. So while people are watching updates, others are already acting. That's the gap. Now here's the consequence. You arrive late to everything. Water is limited. Fuel lines are long. Shelves are empty. And now every step requires more time, more effort, more risk. All because of how you used the first few hours. Now shift your mindset. You don't need full information. You need basic confirmation that something is changing. That's enough. Then you act. Because action secures resources. Information doesn't. And in the first 24 hours, resources matter more than updates. Because once you've secured what you need, then you can step back and observe. But if you reverse that order, you're reacting inside a shrinking environment. And that's where most people lose control. Mistake 3. Ignoring water until it's already a problem. Water is always the first real failure point. Not food. Not fuel. Water. And yet, it's one of the last things people secure. Because it feels stable. You turn the tap, it works. So people assume it will keep working. That assumption is where they fail. Because water systems don't always shut off instantly. They degrade. Pressure drops. Quality changes. Access becomes unreliable. And by the time people realize it, the window is already closing. Now look at what most people do. They wait. They assume they can fill containers later. They think bottled water will still be available. Then suddenly, shelves are empty. Water pressure is low. Or contamination becomes a risk. And now they're behind. This is one of the fastest ways to lose control in the first 24 hours. Because everything depends on water. Hydration. Cooking. Cleaning. Basic function. Without it, your entire system weakens. Now here's what should happen instead. You secure water early. Before there's a visible problem. You fill containers, bottles, bathtubs if needed. Because once pressure drops, that option disappears. Now here's the key detail most people miss. You don't wait for the water to stop. You act while it still works. That's the advantage. During real outages, people who filled early had days of clean water. The ones who waited were searching for it. Now add another layer. Usage. People underestimate how fast water disappears. You don't just drink it. You use it for food, hygiene, basic cleaning. And that adds up quickly. So if you start late, you run out early. And once you're out of water, you're forced to leave your position. That creates exposure. And exposure increases risk. All because of one delay. Now shift your thinking. Water is not something you react to. It's something you secure immediately. Because in the first 24 hours, the people who control water control everything that comes next. Mistake 4. Draining your power before you actually need it. Power doesn't disappear all at once. It fades. Devices still have battery. Lights still work. For a while. That's where people get comfortable. They use their phone normally. They keep lights on. They charge everything at once. It feels harmless. It's not. Because every device you rely on is running on a limited reserve. And once that reserve is gone, you don't get it back easily. Now look at what most people do in the first few hours. They scroll. They refresh updates. They message constantly. Battery drops from 80% to 30% without them realizing it. Then later, when they actually need it, it's almost gone. That's the failure point. Because your phone is not just convenience. It's your communication, information, navigation. Losing it early puts you in a weaker position. Now here's what should happen instead. You conserve immediately. The moment you recognize something is wrong, you shift. Lower brightness. Close background apps. Turn on power-saving mode. Limit use to essential tasks only. Because early conservation extends your capability later. Now add another layer. Charging strategy. Most people plug everything in at once. Phones, power banks, devices. That overloads your available power source. Instead, you prioritize. Charge what matters first. Keep one primary device ready at all times. And here's something most people overlook. Your car. It's not just transportation. It's a backup power source. You can recharge devices using your vehicle when needed. But even that requires management. You don't run it constantly. You use it in controlled intervals. Because fuel becomes the next limitation. Now here's the key shift. You treat power like a resource, not a convenience. You use less now, so you have more later. Because once your battery hits zero, you lose more than just a screen. You lose connection. And in the first 24 hours, that connection matters more than most people realize. Mistake 5. Leaving too early or too late. Movement feels like action. Something goes wrong, and the instinct is to go. Get in the car. Drive somewhere safer. Put distance between you and the problem. Sometimes that's the right move. Most of the time, it's not. Because movement without timing and purpose creates risk. And most people get the timing wrong. They either leave too early or too late. Leaving too early means you abandon a stable position for uncertainty. Your home already has shelter, supplies, familiar environment. When you leave without a clear reason, you trade all of that for unknown conditions. Traffic, limited fuel, unpredictable routes. You introduce problems you didn't have before. Now look at the opposite. Leaving too late. This is more common. People wait. They assume things will stabilize. They delay the decision. Then suddenly, roads are congested. Fuel stations are empty. Movement becomes slow or impossible. Now they're stuck trying to move in the worst possible conditions. That's where risk increases fast. Now here's what matters. Decision before emotion. You don't decide in the moment. You decide in advance. Where you would go. Why you would go. When you would go. Clear triggers. Not panic. Not guesswork. Because once the situation escalates, you won't have time to think through it properly. Now here's the key reality. In many first 24-hour scenarios, staying is stronger than leaving. You already control your environment. You have access to your resources. You reduce exposure. Movement should only happen if staying becomes more dangerous than leaving. And that threshold must be clear before anything happens. Because hesitation in that moment costs time. And time determines access. Now shift your mindset. You don't move to feel safer. You move because it improves your position. If it doesn't, you stay. Because unnecessary movement in the first 24 hours creates more problems than it solves. Mistake 6. Broadcasting your situation to everyone. When something goes wrong, people reach out. They post updates. They share their situation. They let everyone know what they have and where they are. It feels natural. It's also a mistake. Because in unstable situations, information becomes exposure. The more people know about your location, supplies, condition, the more variables you introduce. Most people assume communication is harmless. It's not. Because not everyone receiving that information has the same situation or the same intentions. Now look at how this usually plays out. Power outage. Supply shortage. Uncertainty. People start posting. Stocked up on water. Got enough supplies for a week. Staying home with everything we need. It feels like reassurance. But what it does is signal. You have resources. And in environments where resources are limited, that matters. Now here's the second layer. Panic spreads faster than facts. One message turns into 10. 10 turn into 100. Information becomes distorted. And suddenly, small issues feel bigger than they are. That drives behavior. People move faster, act more aggressively, make rush decisions. All because of what they're hearing, not what's actually happening. Now here's what experienced planners do differently. They control communication. They keep it direct, limited, purpose-driven. They check on key people. They exchange necessary information. Nothing more. No broadcasting. No unnecessary sharing. Because every piece of information you release, you lose control over. Now add one more layer. Visibility. It's not just digital. It's physical. Lights on at night. Open windows. Visible supplies. All of it signals activity. And in uncertain environments, less visibility means less attention. Now shift your mindset. Communication is a tool, not a habit. You use it when it serves a purpose. You limit it when it creates risk. Because in the first 24 hours, staying low profile keeps you in control. And control is what keeps small problems from becoming bigger ones. Mistake 7. Not having a clear order of actions. This is the one that ties everything together. And it's the reason most people fail, even if they have supplies. They don't know what to do first. So when something happens, they pause. They think. They hesitate. They jump between tasks with no structure. A little water. Then check the phone. Then look for supplies. Then go back to something else. It feels like movement, but it's not progress. It's scattered action. And scattered action wastes time. Now remember this. The first 24 hours are not about doing everything. They're about doing the right things in the right order. Because sequence creates efficiency. Without it, you lose control. Now look at what a clear order actually does. It removes decision-making. You don't stop to think what comes next. You already know. That saves time. And in fast-moving situations, time equals access. Access to water, fuel, power, information. Lose time, and you lose access. Now here's what most people get wrong. They prepare items. They don't prepare sequence. They have water containers, flashlights, food, tools, but no defined order of use. So under pressure, they try to build a plan in real time. That's too late. Because stress reduces clarity. And reduced clarity leads to mistakes. Now here's what should exist instead. A simple, repeatable sequence. Water first. Then power. Then food. Then environment. Then communication. Basic structure. Nothing complex. But fixed. Because once it's fixed, you don't waste time deciding. You execute. Now here's the second layer. Consistency. Your items should be stored in predictable locations. Same place. Every time. Because searching under stress slows you down. And small delays stack fast. Now bring it all together. 7 mistakes. Waiting too long. Wasting time on the wrong priorities. Ignoring water. Draining power early. Moving without timing. Broadcasting your situation. No clear sequence. Every one of these is preventable. And every one of them happens early. That's the pattern. Most people don't fail because they lack resources. They fail because they lose control. Too slow. Too scattered. Too reactive. The people who stay ahead do the opposite. They move early. They prioritize correctly. They conserve resources. They control exposure. They follow a system. No hesitation. Because when the first 24 hours hit, you don't get time to figure things out. You either already know what to do, or you learn the hard way. And in that window, mistakes don't stay small. They compound.